So we are on the road to NXT Takeover on May the 20th on the WWE Network, and it's also time for me to review the latest edition of NXT. I am Mr. Parkin on behalf of the British Fist, and if you have any comments and thoughts on this show or the upcoming NXT Takeover special event on the WWE Network, please let me know down in the comments section below. I'm going to start off this review by talking about some of the smaller segments of the show, and then I want to talk about the three bigger segments on the show in a little bit more depth later in the review. So let's get this started. So the first thing I want to talk about was one of the big announcements of the evening. It was the fact that Rhino announced he wanted to face Baron Corbin at NXT Takeover. Rhino squashed Bull Dempsey, and then he cut a promo in the middle of the ring saying that they're both unstoppable forces, and it's time for them to collide. I honestly can't wait for this match. I know it's not going to be the best match, but you've got two very similar characters here going at it in the middle of the ring. That should be pretty good in my opinion. Also, we had this video package for, I believe his name was Uha Nation. I've never really seen much of the guy. Seems like he's got a pretty good look, a look that WWE would like, and that seems very evident in the way that he was presented on NXT tonight. This was his first appearance on NXT. He did a contract signing in William Regal's office. We got a nice little video package of him in the Performance Center. So I imagine he'll be getting some sort of massive push in the near future in WWE. I should look forward to seeing it. Not very often we get bigger guys in NXT really getting a push, apart from maybe Kevin Owens, and we've seen guys like Big E Langston, etc. It'd be nice to see another, big guy, and especially a big black guy on the NXT roster. Also, it seems Team Soft was supposed to have a tag team match, and then we went to a backstage segment where they were getting beat up by Blake and Murphy. I like this segment, mainly because it was something different. It wasn't just a match and then an interference. You actually had something going on between the two that wasn't necessarily in the ring. They did something backstage, so I like that. It was a little bit different. Also, looks like Donna Brooke will test herself against Charlotte at some point down the line, perhaps even next week. And, that should be pretty good in my opinion. I think you've got Donna Brooke and Charlotte, again, who are two very similar sizes and, have really two very similar characters in a way. They both seem like dominant divas to some degree. So I'm actually really looking forward to seeing Donna Brooke and Charlotte face off at some point down the line. So for the first time, I believe, in NXT history, we had a contract signing for the NXT Women's Championship match at NXT TakeOver between Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks. It's quite big, this is. I know these contract segments are very played out, and we know what's going to happen. They're going to sign the contract, cut a promo on each other, and then they're going to end up brawling in the ring, etc., and the table's going to get involved. We know how played out these things are going to be, and we pretty much can predict exactly what's going to happen. But it's good to see that NXT think of their women enough to do a segment like this, and I think the way this segment was done, I think the performances in this segment, I think Becky Lynch, delivered on the mic to some degree. I think she actually managed to get the fans behind her, which is exactly what a babyface needs to do. Yes, I don't buy, her story too much. I believe the story, but I don't think it would necessarily get me behind her. But it seems to be working on the crowd, and Sasha Banks was usual Sasha Banks. She even had a stamp that she put on, they said that's what she do at autograph signing. So there you go. So I thought this segment was very good. Not going to deny that one bit. But a very played out segment, but nice to see that they're thinking of their women enough to actually do a segment like this to hype up an NXT Women's Championship match, which is, generally speaking, the semi-main event of NXT TakeOvers. I also thought the video package that they did for Becky Lynch on this show was very good as well. Generally, WWE has a track record with doing these pretty well, and they're doing a good job, in my opinion, of really, making Becky Lynch seem like a big deal. So this week, for the NXT Championship hype, we had Michael Cole sit-down interviews with both Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And, both these interviews, I thought were very interesting. They're really doing a good job here of making the issue between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn personal, while also still having a vested interest in the NXT Championship. I find it very good how usually in WWE they kind of go to one extreme. They either have it all about the belt or all about the storyline. This one, they're doing it, with both, and I think they're doing very well in that sense. And, these are the kind of things that you can do with Kevin Owens as champion. You could never really do something like this with, let's say, an Adrian Neville as champion. And I think that we can all agree that because of, stuff like this and the way they've been booking Kevin Owens and etc., that Kevin Owens' title reign has been way, way more interesting and memorable than someone like an Adrian Neville. It really has. And I also liked how in his interview, Sami Zayn announced he will call out Kevin Owens next week to, ask why he did what he did. Because we still haven't had an answer yet, even though we kind of subliminally know why he did it. We still haven't had an official answer yet from Kevin Owens. So the way these two interviews are done, the dynamics between Cole and Owens and Cole and Zayn, and the way they worked it, I thought was very well done. I also found it interesting that they acknowledged the injury that Sami Zayn suffered on Raw against John Cena. No doubt they'll try and work this into some kind of storyline. Whether or not he'll be in the main event of TakeOver, I highly doubt it, but you never know what they're going to do. A little bit more on that in the main event. But it's not really been a good week, has it, for WWE on the injury front? You've had Sami Zayn make his debut on Raw to lose to John Cena, but in a way that he wasn't buried, in my opinion. He injured his shoulder before the match, I believe. Kevin Owens has only just returned from knee surgery, and let's not forget that. Alex Riley has gone in for surgery, and I don't really want to talk too much about that promo he cut on NXT, to be honest with you. And also, apparently, Hideo Itami is going to be out for several months now. But I'm going to talk more about that in the main event, but it's been a terrible, terrible week for WWE on the injury front. It really has, if the stories I'm reading are true, that is. So I guess I missed the announcement last week that Tyler Breeze versus Hideo Itami versus Finn Balor would be a #1 contendership match at TakeOver. I sort of had a feeling that Hideo Itami would get thrown into a #1 contendership match, and, Breeze and Balor have been feuding, so that does make a lot of sense. Didn't really care too much for Hideo Itami versus Tyler Breeze for the 1000th time. I think that must have been the 5th or 6th time I've seen these guys face off, so I really wasn't interested in the match at all. You had Finn Balor at ringside, though, so I guess you had to know they would do something with him involving Hideo Itami and Tyler Breeze, and they did. They had that whole played-out booking of the babyface versus babyface and the accidental collision, etc. But I guess the silver lining to that was Tyler Breeze ended the segment by giving a beauty shot to both of them. So it was nice to see the heel actually come out on top against two babyfaces, while also teasing a little tension between the two babyfaces, Finn Balor and Hideo Itami, who are very well known on the NXT roster as being friends, so to speak. So that was that segment. I thought that was fine. I didn't have any problems with that segment other than I wasn't really too interested in the match. But it's not usually about the match. It's more about how they continue the storyline and develop the characters, really. And I really think this takes me into the big talking point of this NXT show. It's what's going to happen with the main event. I mean, you've got, right now, it's Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn for the NXT Championship and Tyler Breeze versus Itami versus Balor in a #1 contendership match. After Sami Zayn's injury on Raw to do with his shoulder against John Cena, you kind of have to doubt that he will be in the main event. And now, apparently, Hideo Itami is out. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but if Hideo Itami is out for as long as he is, and that's a big blow to this show as well. So it looks like you're probably going to end up with Tyler Breeze versus Finn Balor in a #1 contendership match, and probably more than likely Finn Balor challenging Kevin Owens for the NXT Championship. And, that's not a bad alternative at all. It's just a real shame that we're not going to be seeing Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Perhaps, they'll do some kind of storyline here where they can continue it to the next TakeOver. I feel a little bit sorry for Hideo Itami as well. I have a strong feeling he would have been the next challenger to Kevin Owens and the next #1 contender. So it's a real shame for him. Like I said, a real bad week for WWE on the injury front. So it looks like from this NXT show, we're not 100% sure yet, but it kind of feels like they're going to do a #1 contendership match between Breeze and Balor, and then have the winner of that face Kevin Owens in the main event. But whether or not that will be done will remain to be seen. But anyway, I thought this show, actually, there was a lot of stuff in there that felt different, which was good. For example, the contract signing between Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch. Thought that was very well done and felt, different, which is good. And I also liked the sit-down interviews that Michael Cole did with Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I thought that felt very different, and that was very good. Even small things like Team SAWFT Soft getting beat up backstage by Blake and Murphy. That felt a little bit different. I'm not even going to talk about that Bayley and Emma segment. I really don't want to talk about that segment too much, as I just didn't really care too much for it to really want to talk about it. So we got several matches announced for NXT TakeOver. Baron Corbin versus Rhino, definitely looking forward to that. Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore versus Blake and Murphy for the Tag Team Championship. That's another match. Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch for the NXT Women's Championship. That should be a good semi-main event. I'm guessing it's going to be Tyler Breeze versus Finn Balor in a #1 contendership match. And then the main event will be Kevin Owens versus Finn Balor. That's if Sami Zayn is indeed going to be out for that match and not going to be able to wrestle. So we've got 5 matches there announced, and 2 weeks before the show. You know, considering how they did it last time by not really announcing the matches until the week before, it's pretty good going for NXT, although I still think they could improve that a little bit, although they've done a much better job in building this takeover up than they did the last takeover, in my opinion, where really the only match that we really knew was going to happen was Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. So there we go. I thought it was, like I said, a good show in what it needed to do in really setting in stone the next NXT Takeover show. So if you have any comments on this show, please let me know in the comment section below. And any comments on NXT Takeover coming May the 20th, again, please let me know. I'm going to stop talking now before I start getting a sore throat. So thank you very much for watching this review. If you're one of few people that seems to watch my reviews anymore, unfortunately, thank you very much for watching. If you have, goodbye.